Today is Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. An heir to a fortune built on Ecuador's main crop of bananas has pulled off an upset by advancing to the country's presidential runoff election. Daniel Noboa will face leftist Luisa Gonzalez, an ally of a convicted former president who remains an influential figure in the South American country. They were the top vote-getters in Sunday's special presidential elections, even though they both are young with little political experience. With about 94% of votes counted as of Monday, results from the National Electoral Council had Gonzalez in the lead, with about 33% of support. Noboa received about 24% of the votes. Cyprus police have rescued 18 Syrian migrants after their boat started taking on water some 3.5 miles off the Mediterranean island nation's southeastern coast. Police said Monday the 11 men, 3 unescorted minors, 1 woman, and her 3 children had set sail from Tartus, Syria, and were brought ashore aboard a police patrol vessel. State-run Cyprus news agency reported that the woman and her children were taken to hospital after one of the kids had fainted. The migrants' boat reportedly sank. The latest rescue comes after police rescued another 97 Syrian migrants aboard 2 boats over the last 72 hours. Guatemalans overwhelmingly picked an independent, anti-corruption progressive to be the country's next president, but his opponent remained silent Monday, leaving open the possibility of a challenge to landslide results that rejected the country's elite. With 100% of votes counted, Bernardo Arevalo got 58% of the vote to 37% for former First Lady Sandra Torres. The results still have to be certified to become official, an open question as the Attorney General's office has attempted to suspend his party's legal status. The Swiss Weather Service says a heat wave has driven the 0 °C level to its highest altitude since recordings on it in Switzerland began nearly 70 years ago, a new ominous sign for the country's vaunted glaciers. MeteoSwiss says the 0 degree isotherm level reached 5,298 meters, or 17,381 feet, above sea level over Switzerland overnight, Sunday to Monday. All of Switzerland's snow-capped alpine peaks, the highest being Monte Rosa's summit at 4,634 meters, or 15,203 feet, had air temperatures exceeding 0 Celsius, or 32 Fahrenheit, where water freezes. That raises prospects of a thaw. A rights group alleges that border guards in Saudi Arabia fired machine guns and launched mortars at Ethiopians trying to cross into the kingdom from Yemen, likely killing hundreds of the unarmed migrants. The report by Human Rights Watch cited eyewitness reports of attacks by troops and images that showed dead bodies and burial sites on migrant routes. The United Nations already has questioned Saudi Arabia about its troops opening fire on the migrants in an escalating pattern of attacks along its southern border with war-torn Yemen. A Saudi government official, speaking on condition of anonymity as he was not authorized to speak publicly, called the Human Rights Watch report unfounded and not based on reliable sources, without offering evidence to support the assertion. Ecuadorians voted against drilling for oil in a protected area of the Amazon, an important decision that will require the state oil company to end its operations in a region that's home to 2 isolated tribes and is a hotspot of biodiversity. With over 90% of the ballots counted, around 6 in 10 Ecuadorians rejected the oil exploration in Block 43, situated within Yasuni National Park, one of the world's most biodiverse regions. Canadian firefighters prevented wildfires from destroying more structures in a scenic region of British Columbia, and stepped up their defense of a territorial capital threatened by flames. Authorities on Monday also said the prospect of rain raised hopes for the effort to contain the blazes. Fire Chief Jason Brolin said fire crews made more progress in the West Kelowna area, known as a summer destination for families. He reported no new property losses in the previous 24 hours and said the biggest challenge now is the region's poor air quality. Elsewhere, firefighters battling a wildfire near Yellowknife, the capital of the Northwest Territories, shifted from defense to offense. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has thanked Danish lawmakers for helping his country resist Russia's invasion. He visited Copenhagen on Monday, a day after Denmark and the Netherlands announced they will provide Kyiv with American-made F-16 warplanes. The planes could be delivered around the end of the year. Zelensky said that if Russia's invasion is successful, other parts of Europe would be at risk from the Kremlin's military aggression. Zelensky portrays Ukraine as defending Western values of freedom and democracy against tyranny, and argues that Ukraine needs to be properly provisioned to fend off Russia's much bigger force. Ukraine has been pressing its Western allies for months to give it F-16s. The head of Russia's space agency says the Luna 25 spacecraft crashed into the moon after its engines failed to shut down correctly. He blamed the country's decades-long pause in lunar exploration for the mishap. The pilotless Luna 25 had been scheduled to land Monday, while aiming to become the first spacecraft to touch down on the moon's south pole. Roscosmos Director General Yuri Borisov said Monday that the spacecraft's engines were turned on over the weekend to put Luna 25 into a pre-landing orbit, but didn't shut down properly, plunging the lander onto the moon. He said, "The negative experience of interrupting the lunar program for almost 50 years is the main reason for the failures." Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is accusing Facebook of putting profits over people's safety during Canada's wildfire emergencies. Meta, the PA company of Facebook and Instagram, announced earlier this summer it would keep its promise to block news content in Canada on its platforms in response to a new law that requires tech giants to pay publishers for linking to or otherwise repurposing their content online. Fires raging in Canada have pushed thousands from their homes and threatened a provincial capital hundreds of kilometers to the north. Trudeau says it is inconceivable that Facebook is choosing to put corporate profits ahead of ensuring that local news organizations can get up-to-date information to Canadians. This has been The World News for Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. Thanks again for joining us at The Dunkley Report.